So we just did a quick lesson on typography, which I feel like is such a crucial part of design. However, what is also important is content. So if you have a great website, you want to have great content to draw your customers in. So we have our website, we have our introduction. We want to start by changing out this initial kind of call to action here. So we'll change that, and then we're going to move down, but we're going to change up the content on our homepage. So do we need all of this? No. We're actually going to delete some of it. We're going to keep some of it, but there's going to be some pieces there that are going to be helpful for us to fill out our website quickly and make this basically a website overnight. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to click Edit Page. And then for my initial introduction, this right here says fresh and tasty bakery every day. I'm going to put giant and delicious baked goods. And then I'm going to put here, this is the bigger part here that said the perfect fresh bread. I'm going to set something that's eye-catching. Monstrously good food. No, let's do monstrously good baked items. So you want to get creative. And I watched a marketing video once, and it said that people should know what your website does and what you do as a business within 3 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds. You really only have 8 seconds to capture someone's attention and really draw them in. And it's Donald Miller of StoryBrand that says your website should pass the grunt test. And so he says when you open up your website, your laptop, and someone sees the site there, they should be able to grunt out what you do immediately. So it's like, baked goods. I think a great picture tells 1,000 words, it's 10,000 words. Good cinnamon roll, they know that there's probably gonna be a bakery. So I changed that out, and then you wanna give a brief description of what it is that you do. And those H1s, those are the things that Google looks at. So definitely having the word bakery in there, sometimes having a location in there is great. But here in this body content, this is where we're gonna draw the customer in with some words. And so I'm gonna tell them, we bake goods fresh daily. So I just put, we bake fresh goods daily. We create daring and exciting cakes and cookies for families to enjoy. So I like to tell a story whenever I'm building a website that invites people in and lets them know that it's not just a cookie that I'm baking, but I'm wanting to create memories. I'm wanting to make an occasion special. I want to go the next step. And so what is the outcome of what I want my website or service to provide? And so if you owned a car repair shop, you might put, we fix transmissions, or you could say, we keep your car driving safe so you can get to your destination smoothly. Both of them are telling a story. One of them is just telling a better story. So writing content is all about drawing the customer in and making them think, oh, I need that, I want that. So we'll keep it simple, add that in there. And then on this button, I'm gonna click it, and I'm actually gonna have a call to action here. And instead of it being shop, I'm just gonna send it to our contact page. And so instead of explore our products, I'm gonna put order now. And that way, if somebody wants to just order something, they can go and go to our contact page. Call us and order. And the StoryBrand model, Donald Miller, I really love their process. They talk about what is important when creating content is not that you become the hero, but that you turn other people into heroes. And so I'm not trying to save the day and make myself look good as a business owner. I'm trying to save the day by making you a hero. So a mom that is stressed out and frazzled, she doesn't need me to come and rescue her, but if I can provide her some goods or some services that make her look like a hero to her family, then I've got a customer that will keep coming back and being loyal. My clients at Alpha Graphics here in Denton, Trista, she always takes care of me. I go back to her every single time I need something printed because she always makes me look good, and I love that. It just creates a lot of loyalty. I've even had other people tell me, why can't I get your printing business? And I'm like, it's because Alpha Graphics takes really good care of me. So I got my site here. I got my content changed out. Simple, giant and delicious baked goods, monstrously good baked items. It says order now, done. I'm going to move on from there and start changing out the actual content on the second part of this page. So the big hero image is our introduction. The second part of the site is, this is actually right here is a part that only shows up on mobile. We're just going to delete that for now. The second section right here, this is right here. This is part of a shopping cart that came with the theme. Well, we're not setting up a shopping cart today. This is a site that we're generating that is just about creating a really great website. We can add a shopping cart later, but right this moment, we're going to change out this piece right here by just deleting this box. So I'm going to take a moment and explain how the Aveda theme works. And many themes work like this now, where they have what's called content composers or visual composers. And so I'm going to scroll up here, and you'll notice that there's a default editor button right here, and there's a Fusion Builder Live button. Well, if we click on default editor, it's going to take us to this, and this is what building websites used to look like. It was a bunch of, actually it looked a lot worse than this, because this is all still in text and some code for the Fusion Builder. But used to, it was all in HTML. We click back on Fusion Builder, we have these nice boxes. They can be dragged and dropped around, changed. If I want this call to action down here moved up, I can just drag it right here into this place. And if I wanted like this baking process to be moved up, I can just drag it right there. And when I click update, it's gonna move those two boxes. Super simple. So that's updating right now. Now then, I'm gonna show you real quick by looking at that moving that content, what it did to the page. So now we had our main image right here, and then that second piece, this image that was down here, this was a call to action. It moved it right up below our main hero image. So see, that doesn't look good, so we wouldn't want to leave it like that, but you can see how easily it is to move content around. And then we also move this whole section up. And this section right here is where we did have our shopping cart data that was going to be filled in right there. The reason that was just text is that there's a shopping cart WooCommerce plugin that had to be plugged in, and we would also then have to add products to that in order for those products to show up. So I'm going to zip back up here, go back to edit page. And the cool thing about WordPress is I just made those changes, and you're like, oh, I just made that, and I hit save. It keeps all your revisions right over here to the side. This is a really great feature. I click on that to browse, and it shows me, okay, here's my most recent changes. And if I just go to this right here, I can drag it, and it says 1 minute ago, 4 minutes ago, and I can say restore this revision. And when I go back to my site, it'll be back to what it was before. There it is. So that those boxes that I moved, I didn't have to worry about dragging them back down. There's been times when I've made a whole bunch of changes. It, at the time, seemed like it was going to be great, but then I was like, okay, I've done something and I don't know how I broke that. And so I go back in there, I go to the revisions, I change it, take it back to where it was, and then I'm good to go again. Something that I don't like right now is how big this font is and how this looks kind of unbalanced, this monstrously good baked items. If I click on this edit here, I can go in here, I can hit this, and I can add a return there, and it'll put that baked items in the second one. And I might still change that font size later, or even change up the words if it still feels somewhat out of balance for me. But that's just a little detail thing that you can clean up. Sometimes I can get lost in the details, But see how much better that already looks there than that having just that one. They call it orphan when you have just one item there by itself, or if something's been split too far. You don't want to orphan items like that. So we deleted this earlier, but then whenever we did the revision and went back, that came back. So we're going to edit this page. And I'm going to delete that mobile part again, expand this featured products. I'm actually going to delete this section completely. And you'll notice on these boxes that there's a little 1/3 right here. And I could click on this little clone and it would give me another one of those. So now, with just a few clicks of a mouse, I've got 3 boxes there that already have buttons. And so I could create products, I could add some pictures here, I could tell a little bit more of our story. And then if I wanted to add just a little bit of an intro before maybe creating these 3 boxes, I could just click another clone box, and I can tell that I want this one to be 1:1, so it's full width. So now I still have my 3 boxes here, and I have my main box up here at the top. But I don't need all that content in this first box, so I just delete what I don't need. And there I have a single box of content that's going to be kind of my header box, and then I'm going to have 3 boxes below it, and I probably will center up these 3 items here. So sometimes if I go, what I like to do is before I make too many changes is I style up one box the way that I want it to be. I might center that. And then on this design, it's going to tell me that this is an H6. So I might want it to be an H3, which is that scripty font. I believe we made the H3 the script font. And then there's even a place right here that if you choose a title section, that it lets you actually choose a font family from right here as well. So that's a really cool feature. If you want to change very specific fonts and very specific locations, you can get very granular with this theme again and just choose that one font, which is awesome. For now, we're going to not choose any other fonts. We're going to leave it as the default. So that. And then I'm going to hit update. And what I like to do is before I start getting too far down the road on something is I just like to preview, and I want to see what it looks like with what's going on. So here's this really large header here, and I'm like, wow, that's really spread out. I've got a lot of space around it, so that's not what I want. And then here's, our products, and this is really big font here. So now I know, okay, I need to polish that up a little bit. So the way that I do that is I make this, say, 2/3 width, and then I add another 2 boxes. I delete the content here, and I'll make it 1/6. And then I delete this here, and I make it 1/6. So what I'm doing basically is instead of having that font way stretched out across the page, I'm kind of bringing it in and giving it some padding. And then I'm going to change this. I'm going to make this centered. And I think up here in the design, I can choose it right here, center, so I don't have to actually add it here. If you ever make a change here and you need to see if there's some HTML around it, you can actually click on this little text option, and it says P style, text align left. I'm just going to remove that for now. I don't want it to be centered there. I'm going to use this functionality up here to center that. So I go back to my visual, and I'm going to type in welcome to Golden Gorilla Bakery. We are a boutique bakery with a big heart. We are located in Denton, Texas, on the square. please stop by for some of our fresh baked goods. So one thing about this is I really only want Welcome to Golden Gorilla Bakery to be the big header here. And I think I'm going to leave it as an H2, and I'll just click save. And then right below that, I'm going to create an added text box. And I'll put that text in here, and then I'm going to center it. I'm going to hit save. So that's the way that these themes work, is you have these boxes, and within it is boxes on boxes, and you can just keep nesting things. But every box has a little editor on it, so you can edit what's inside it. These are columns, so this is 1, 2, 3 columns. And within these columns, I can do different things where I can add spacers, I can add images. I'm gonna look here, I can add any of these things. Lightbox, a lightbox is when you click on something and it comes out on the screen bigger. I can add a post slider, which slides my posts that I've written in my blogs or my journals. I can do an image before and after where I put in 2 images and there's a scroller. So when I scroll it back and forth, it's gonna change the image to give it a cool before and after effect. So this theme comes built in with all this functionality that used to would have cost you $20,000 to put together a website that does all these different things that this thing does. And people would have to be coding it from scratch. And then when you needed to make a change, you'd have to go back to the designer or the developer and have them make the change for you. Now you can do it all yourself. There's counter boxes, there's icons, there's image carousels. So right now we're just using text boxes. So that's what we just chose, was a text block. So I'm gonna cancel that. This is my text block here. This is my heading right here. This is a container right here that's blue. And it is gonna be what holds all your content. And why this is important is that you can add a background to this container. You can add a gradient background to this container. You can add an image, but you can also add a lot of spacing and padding. So when I go here to the design, I've got my container link color, my container link hover color. I don't like that, so I'm gonna change it to just being a gray color for now. I can add a border to my container if I wanted to right here, but you'll notice that this padding says 8%, 6%, 4%, 6%. For me, it's real hard for my brain to know what that means percentage-wise. Like, that seems too arbitrary. So I usually change that to pixels. And it tells you over here what the default values are, and that you can use pixels or percentages. So I'm just gonna say, for now, I'm gonna do 20%, 20 pixels on all around. And padding is, say you have a box and there's content inside of it. Padding is the space inside of the box around the content. Margin is on the outside of that box. So when I first started designing, I would often get padding and margin confused. But if I had a box that had an actual line around it, and then I added space on the inside, the content would keep getting kind of squished down and the padding would get, bigger around it. Well, if there's no line around that box, then you sometimes can't tell the difference between margin and padding. But if there is a line around it, or if it's an image, then it's real clear to see that the margin is the space on the outside of that box line. Padding is on the inside of the box. I hope that makes sense. So now that we know what margin and padding is, we can go in here and continue adding our content to make this next part of our site look good. So I've got this header here. I've got a little bit of an intro statement that kind of tells a little bit about us and what we do. And then I want to create maybe 3 boxes that kind of say who we are, what we do, about us, something like that. Or maybe these 3 boxes are going to be 3 different types of pastries that we do. I think that'd probably be a better fit, because they can always find out other stuff about us, another location. But if we put in, 3 different pastries, people love seeing pictures, drawing them in with some call to actions. So I've got my box here, got these 3 boxes here. When I come up here to look at this container, I notice that it says 100% width. And that means that all the content in this container is going to be the full width of the site. And we would rather it be site width so we get a little bit of padding. So site width is whatever the site is that you set. So the overall width of the page might be 1920 pixels so that pictures go from edge to edge. But the actual site width is going to be probably closer to 1250 pixels, sometimes 1400. That's going to be your max width. So I go in here, site width, I click save, I click update. And I'll often update my site quite a bit because if I've been working for a while and I haven't hit update, then I could possibly lose those changes. WordPress oftentimes will save drafts of things and it kind of keeps things for you, but you can't always, that's not always a guarantee. You can't always count on that. So I got this box down here that says our products. I want to change out that image right there, this our products, to an image. So I'm going to delete that. And down here at the bottom where it says element, I'm going to click on that and I'm going to type in image up here in this little search box. This little search box is really a godsend because you have so many items in here to choose from. You're like, what is it that I needed? Well, I need an image, so I just type in image and I get the 3 image options. Then I need to upload an image. Well, I haven't created those images yet. This theme comes with a bunch of images, but I want to create my images to be the exact same size for all 3 of those boxes. And since I know that my site width is, 1400, 1500, I'm gonna make my pictures about 500 pixels wide by 300 pixels tall. So I'll go here, I'll go File, New, and I'm in Photoshop. And it's gonna take its sweet time loading. I click 500 here, 300 here, resolution 72, looks good. So there's my image size, make it a little bigger. This is just for me to work with. I like being able to see things. And then I'll go back to Unsplash and type in, if I can get it to type, unsplash.com. And then I'm going to type in cookies. So right there, that picture looks amazing. I want those cookies in my belly right now. This is a great photo. I like this one too. Like I said, I can get lost in just looking through some of the stock photos. These are brilliant. A lot of times what I'm looking for when I'm looking for an image is the warmth of the photo, like what's going to contrast well on a white background. This right here, this picture that I'm hovering over right now, it's a picture of a lot of stuff, but it doesn't convey a real crisp, clean story to me. This is one that is a little bit better, but I want to make someone's mouth water and get them to buy this item. So I'm gonna go back up here. I think I'm gonna choose this basket of cookies. I like the darker backgrounds, especially for this gorilla feel that I'm trying to go for. And you'll notice that it's not the right dimensions, pixels size, but that's okay because I've already set that up in my Photoshop. I download it. I come over here to Photoshop and I take it from the downloads and I just drag it over here. And then I just make it bigger. And I've got this great image now that's got these delicious looking chocolate chip cookies on here. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. I want it to have the edge of the basket a little, but the main thing that I wanna draw people in is just that cookie. So I click save. And I'm gonna go here and go File, Save As. I've got my images folder. This one, I'm just gonna save the JPEGs and not worry about keeping a PSD file. So I'm just gonna say chocolate chip cookies. And then I'm gonna add it. And instead of going ahead and taking this photo and putting it in and then going back to Unsplash, I need to get 3 photos right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab all 3 of them. So I will now grab a picture of a cake. And I want these to have a similar feel. They don't have to be quite exact. I like this one right here. It looks like a sprig of rosemary. I don't know why I don't want that one. Too much green, too herbal. I don't know. This is a nice dark image and it fits my concept. This Cupcakes does as well, but I think I'm gonna go with this one. So I'll download that. Go in here. And once again, I want to make sure I get kind of a good, some of that, those blueberries and stuff down at the bottom, I feel like look a little messy, so I just crop those out. The focus should be on that cake. Once again, I want the person's mouth to water and want them to call me to place an order. Save as cake. And then lastly, let's do some scones. I do like a good scone with a coffee. Once again, I want it to be a darker image because that's what I'm going for. I want there to be some consistency, especially since I didn't shoot these. Now, obviously, if you have a bakery, it's best to create pictures of your own. I only recommend using stock art when you absolutely have to. When you're throwing together a site quick and you want to start a business fast, sometimes you just got to get the business out there. You got to get your site set up and get it going. So use stock art, get your business up, start promoting it, get the Google indexing done, and then later you can go back in and update your site. It needs to be updated anyway ever so often to keep it fresh. So you can just put in some great stock art and come back later and change them out. This is the one I wanted. Download free. There it is. I drag it over. And that little bit of light that's up in the top, it can be distracting, so I'm gonna make sure that it goes away as much as possible. The focus, once again, should be on the scones. These look like they're a little bit overcooked in the corner, but that's okay. I don't mind a little bit of overcooked on my scone. So I'll just type scones, JPEG, save. Okay. So I go back to my page. I upload the first image, which was the chocolate chip cookies. I say upload file. I go back to my images and I have chocolate chip cookies. I have the cake and the scones. I'm gonna actually upload them all three right now, even though I'm only gonna use one. So that way I don't have to keep coming back and getting them later. That's just a quick shortcut. It's gonna default with this checkbox, the one that was the last one that uploaded. Since I want the cookies to be first, I'll click on it. I'll change the alt text to say cookies. And this is the size of the image, should be full size right there. And on this cookies, you could even add cookies, chocolate chip, and then Golden Gorilla Bakery, Denton, Texas, if you wanted to give it some more information that Google would index and search for you. I click save. I will, before I do anything, I'm going to move this picture up. And I'm going to hit save, and I want to see what it looks like now before I duplicate that box, because I want this box to be looking fantastic before I duplicate it. Otherwise, I'll have to change each box individually, and that only wastes time. So I want to make this fast, like we're getting things knocked out here. So here's my great welcome to Golden Gorilla Bakery. Now here's this picture, this start shopping. This font is way too big. This should be just like a header size, and then this button should probably be centered. We'll play with that here in a second. And for some reason, there's this large gap in between here. We've got to figure out why that's doing that. So let's edit this. All right. Now, these boxes all have padding and stuff like that around them. So if I go up here to design, that doesn't show any padding or margin here, so that should be fine. That's not what's causing that. And maybe one of these boxes. I don't see anything on that. It could even be that there's some extra space on one of these. I don't see it there. And I don't see it there. So I'm not exactly certain why that's giving me a big gap. What I sometimes do when that happens is I just duplicate this box and I delete this one, and then I delete these extra boxes here. And then duplicate. And that, I will say, is the one downside of designing from a demo, is that whatever they did, you don't know sometimes why it's doing this particular padding, and you'll have to kind of go in and play with it and see what's going on. Once again, you saw that I duplicated those just because that's force of habit. I want to change up this font before I do that and make this a title. I'm just going to say cookies. And I'm going to leave it alone. I don't know if I'm going to center it. Actually, I do want to center it, I think. So I'll click center there. And then instead of start shopping, I'm just going to change this to contact, and then this will be order now. Okay. This box, make sure that my padding looks good there. That's great. We'll worry about margin later. I want to see what these look like now. Oh, I did it again. I need to add just one more thing, and it is a description. So I need a text box or text block, whichever. And I will type in, our delicious cookies come in a variety of flavors. We bake them fresh daily, and they also come in vegan and gluten-free options. So we want to make all of our customers happy. Let people know that we care about them, thinking about their dietary needs. And now I want to see what it looks like. If it looks good, great. We'll continue to work on it from here. All right, see, already looking better. Now the great thing, I need to change this text box here, and I'll change these out here as well. But already with just this header and this middle section, we could have a footer, and we could have a website that's almost done, with just this intro page and then a contact. That would be a beginning starter website that wouldn't be bad. Now we still got a lot of work to do, but things are coming along nicely. Let's edit this page. And scroll down right here. I'm going to delete these again. I'm going to slide this up. You can tell it to tell the button to span so it will stretch to the full width of the box, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I believe here I'm going to tell it to center, so it'll center it as well. So it should be the full width, and I'm going to see how that looks. But I think I'll like that. Make sure that looks good. I'll update it before and one thing about me is I will update and view a page, and we'll go back through. Before long, this revisions will say like 80 revisions, and there's actually a plugin that you can go download and clean up all those revisions, but it's just the way that I work. I want to see it. I want to see how it's coming together. This looks good. This button looks a little big to me, so I think what I want to do is actually add a background color to this as well, just a subtle shading that kind of gives it some kind of a holder, kind of a container for it. In my mind, I can feel whenever something just is missing something, and so this background color, I'm going to do F7, 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 which is just a real light, subtle gray. Sometimes that's all I need. Just a little bit of something to give it, just kind of make it more closed in and not just things floating. And then on this button, I said that I was going to make it the full width. I'm just going to tell it to do default and not span the full width. I'm going to go ahead and copy these out, change up these photos. I feel like I'm at a point now where I can change the individual box if I need to. I think I'm going to do the scones in the middle, and I'm going to do the cake on the end. Oftentimes the images, how they look balanced to me is what determines where I put things. Tasty scones. Moist cakes. Yes, I use the word moist. I know some people hate it. Then I can change in here. Try our unique scone flavors. Everything from cardamom. I can't spell cardamom, so we're not going to use that word. Everything from cinnamon to rosemary bacon. These scones are unlike anything you have ever tried. And then on our cakes, we create cakes for all types of special occasions. Order them whole or by the slice. So when I'm also creating content, I want to create balance. And so when I look at these, I want to make sure that there's the same, generally close to the same amount of text. You can set columns in this theme so that they're always the same height. And sometimes you'll have some space in there, but it still will look okay. So let's give it a quick look-see. All right. So you can see now that we have this background. This box needs some padding so that this stuff isn't touching on the edges, but we've got 3 boxes that look really good. We've got our order now buttons. That's our call to action, and it's looking great. I'm gonna change this out, and then you'll see that this thing is continuing to come together quite nicely. And it's not something that you even need to have any coding skills for. It's just basic, change this up, know how to change up padding. And so we're going to change up this padding on this column. We do design. Padding is going to be, I think we can probably get away with doing 20 pixels around. And padding and things like that, they just take time to kind of get a general idea of what, how much 10 pixels and 5 pixels and stuff like that looks. But you'll get it, and if you're only designing a site for your business, great. You can set it and forget it and move on. But if you're designing for other people and you decide that this is what you want to do, and what I love about what I do is that, for 3 summers straight, I got to go on EF tours with one of my friends, Nathan Allison. I was a chaperone, and we traveled, and I took my computer with me. So I was in Europe for 10 days, and I had my computer with me, and as long as I had an internet connection, I could just knock out some quick work. So my customers, my clients didn't even need to know that I was, out of the country. Now, most of them did, but to them, it was a mostly seamless process where they never knew that I was gone. If they needed something, I could still get it done. So right here, we're going to change this box so that these columns are equal height. They might already be. Yes, set columns to equal height. We say yes there. That means that no matter what the content is in each of the columns, they will still be the same height. And then when we click update, so we have these 3 boxes. They've got a nice little bit of padding around them. We've got, tasty scones. Now the space in between cookies and this content here is too big. It's out of balance. We'll fix that in a minute. And we need a little bit more words for this moist cakes option here, so that, see how these are nicely balanced, the order now buttons in the same. The way that you can fix that, you could add more padding, you could do a lot of stuff, but the easiest way is just to add a little bit more content. So we need another, 10 words or so in here to just push that down. So we'll do that real quick. And the great thing about what I'm teaching you right now is that it's the same for all these different boxes throughout the site. So what you're learning now is crucial to updating this theme and to making this site look fantastic. So we create cakes for all types of special occasions, order them whole or by the slice. Some of our favorites are German chocolate and coconut. I'll click that, save it. And now I know that if I need to add some more words in there, since I ended it with German chocolate and coconut, I can just add a couple more flavors in there if I need to. And it gets the words that I wanted it to have. Look at that. Looks good, looks great. What I would do in another part of this tutorial is possibly come in here with a divider or something that's stylized, so some of that separation, but we don't necessarily have to do it right now. And instead, I would rather just bring those two closer together, just a little bit. And so I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go to the design. My margin, it's gonna have a default value, I believe of 4%. And so I'm gonna tell it that I'm gonna do 10 pixels and see what that does. Sometimes I have to play with these margins and get them just right. And then this padding on the bottom, I could probably remove that and tell it to be 0 pixels and kind of see what that does for me. While I'm in here, I want to look at this moist cakes, this design. The margin on this bottom says 30 pix, and so I'm gonna make it 10. I'm gonna see what that looks like on these titles. That might be, I feel like it might better be at 15, but we'll see what 10 does for us, and we can always go back and change it. But you'll see how it changes the overall aesthetic of the site. Just remember that proximity is one of the key elements to great design. And so you don't want things to be crowded, but you don't want things to be too far apart either. So this still is too far in here, in this distance, but this looks much better, this moist cakes. And I would say on this title right here that I could probably go with a little more spacing even on the top. We can change that, get that going. My main thing is that I still want this to be a little bit closer to that. So let's go in here. Let's go to this box right here, design, and the top says 20. So we're gonna remove this top padding so that that's not there. And then on these, I'm going to change those out real quick. And just add a little bit more, 15 pix. Last but not least, this title here. Now I've updated, I'm viewing. These boxes now look pretty perfect. Got my 3 things to order now. It tells people quickly what we do. Welcome to Golden Gorilla Bakery. Spacing's nice. I still think it would be better to have a little divider there, but if I just have this and I just have this, I'm already on my way to a fantastic site. I can add a footer, can add a little bit more on the other pages, but we're almost done having something really great. So what we just covered was a lot of content creation and a lot of writing. Now that is something that I do for my clients and I'm very comfortable with, but not everybody's comfortable with writing. And so if you're not writing for your own website and you're designing a website for somebody else, you may need to contact the client and have them send you a description of their cookies or maybe their crafts that they're selling. If you're writing a description for that, they can send you that content. That if they're not sending you that content, that is something that you would want to charge for. And if you can't write it yourself and the client doesn't want to write it either, then you may need to hire that out. A great place to get customers or find somebody that's going to write for you is Upwork.com, and you can possibly even use Fiverr. But yeah, content creation is a great part of doing web design. And so as you can see here, we have these 3 boxes. We have our intro. We're already telling a great story with this website. And so just a little bit more work and we're going to be done with this, and it's going to be a great site.